here with the great Tom Braxton, saxophonist and composer Tom Braxton. Man, that was a lot of fun getting to play.
It really was. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
I really enjoy your artistry. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, thank you for doing it. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. It's been really a dream of mine to have you and really get a chance to play. I appreciate you allowing us to play the old song, Bring Back Bread of Life. Thank you for that.
I'd like to play those more, so you inspired something. I might have to pull those out and dust them off.
Well, cool. Well, man, I just always like, facts about different people. So it's just some things that I wanted to bring out, maybe that people didn't know about you. And if I got anything incorrect, you can just correct me and make sure that we get it right.
I'm sure it's all good. Just on 25. That's the main thing.
Okay, 25. Okay. So it's 25-year-old saxophonist and composer Tom Braxton.
Danger.
Right. Well, man, you have 7 albums out total. Mm-hmm. The latest, Endless Highway, which we played today. Some things from that as well. I remember the first one, Your Move. I guess I should say that, I've known you since my senior year in high school. And I remember, coming to hear you play, and all the tracks off of Your Move were just like my jam. Everything was really, really cool. So I think that's great.
Thank you.
What I was going to say was that on Endless Highway, man, you played a lot of instruments. Because I knew, we play all the saxophones, right? Mm-hmm. And we played some flute, as well. Piano, which I was thinking we should have just busted out some 2 piano things today.
Yeah, I would do the, was it Chick Corea and whoever, when they did the dueling pianos. Right. But I did play a lot. I really enjoy exploring all the instruments.
Yeah.
And plus I couldn't pay other people to do it, so I
No, I don't believe that. But you're more than capable of basically doing everything. But yeah, I was going to say that Endless Highway, I know you've been producing your CDs for quite some time, but yeah, I was really just reading about Endless Highway and how you put that together, all the instruments that you played, keyboards as well as piano, flute, all the saxes, and producing, the writing, everything. I think that's great. I want to talk a little bit later specifically about the writing. But I was going to bring up, too, that, I think about musicians, and a lot of times we're seen in a certain light that, music is all that we excel in. So I really thought it was important even to go, even before, your albums, even go back to high school and college days, but you were valedictorian of your high school. And then summa cum laude, graduated from Texas Tech University, my alma mater as well. Go
recompense.
But no, I think that's wonderful.
Well, I like to talk to young people about being a Renaissance person. Excel in as many areas as you can. When I talk to my students, I talk to them about, hey, be a great musician, or an athlete.
Yeah.
But God may want to use you in a lot of areas, and so you never know. Yeah. So what my dad just taught me: whatever you do it to the best of your ability. And that has just stuck with me. Whatever you're going to do it well. So when it came to academics, tried to do it the best I could. Came to sports, the best I could. Music, the best I could.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great to show that it takes more than just playing the instrument. I really think all the things that you do away from the instrument in your life really allows you to be able to come to the instrument more freely and to be able to pour that into. So I really wanted to bring that out, just the well-roundedness of your life, really, as an artist and as a musician. So that takes me to the next question: is can you remember when was the first time that you realized this is really what you're supposed to do, or what you're called to do? When was that turning point? Because I always seem like there's usually a turning point, for that.
Well, that's a great question, and to go back to your earlier point, I like to talk to my students about what are you when you're not playing your instrument. What kind of person are you? What other areas do you excel in? So I think that's very important. To answer your question, I think I was a senior in high school. I wasn't one of those people 5 years old, I'm going to be a musician. I really didn't know that because I had an interest in a lot of areas. I love science. I love biology. I just had a fascination with my world, I guess I should say. And so consequently, I was a senior in high school, and I was, oh, it's getting close to, you gotta have to declare a major and all that. And I loved playing music. And I said, I'm going to do this. And I was surrounded by it because my father is a musician as well and a teacher. And so it just came to the forefront. I went to Texas Tech and became a music major.
Yeah.
So I was late. I was junior, senior in high school before I really thought that's what I'm going to do.
Right. Okay. And then was it clear to you, I guess this may be kind of a loaded question, but I think about even my life, was it clear to you, specifically like what you were going to do as far as artist, saxophone, or was it more general as far as just, I'm into music, I'll go to college and major in music and see what happens. But I'm just curious to kind of know, how, the vision was.
I really did want to play.
Yeah.
I really wanted to play it. I wanted to write, and I wanted to create a sound.
Yeah.
And I just knew that early on.
Okay.
I liked teaching.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel that was the forefront of what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. I have been a band director, I've been a fine arts director, but when I went into school, I didn't see that at the front.
Yeah.
I saw myself as being a performer.
Right. Okay. That's great. Well, that brings me to the next question. I was thinking is that you mentioned I should add, to saxophonist, composer, the artist, the educator as well. But it reminds me that early on when I met you, that one thing that stuck out to me was really seeing you and your family, your wife, your children involved, and seeing that model, really helped me, specifically with seeing it with musicians. Because a lot of times we have the stigma of, you're all traveling, they may or may not have a family. They may not act like they have a family all the time. But, that it really stuck out to me is that your family, was really involved. And so just tell me a little bit, about that. Was that a conscious thing, or did it just kind of, happen that way? Or?
Well, I think there are two parts to that. One, I have an incredible wife. And she made the decision to be involved early.
Yeah.
She didn't just, we met, I was playing, and every family is different, but she made a decision to be involved with me in my calling and my profession.
Yeah.
She didn't just say, well, that's his job, and I'm going to be over here. So she would come, she would support. She's extremely intelligent, business-wise and everything.
Yeah.
So she immediately jumped in and let's work together.
Yeah.
Even though she has her own, she could go out and do probably even better in another profession. But she's really rolled up her sleeves to help me.
Yeah.
And then my children are very musically inclined, and they've always been extremely supportive. They don't just go, well, that's your thing. They wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part, is it was coming from them. And then from my point of view, I always wanted a family that would be involved in what I was doing.
Right.
And not just, it can be a lonely profession out there where you're going out, you're playing on your own, you're doing everything by yourself. And Sharon goes to the studio, the kids go to the studio. As a matter of fact, they went to the studio before they were born.
Yeah.
Sharon had them in here, and they were already in the studio.
Yeah.
So they've been involved from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I think it is, artist, I tell you, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's wonderful. Because of that, we'll have them on the show a little later, because I'd like to really, people to get to see them and get to also hear from them. Well, I was thinking about music business-wise, the power of a recommendation. And I wanted to ask you, because I really wanted to say that even for me, you mentioned the teaching. Really, the history is that I was a senior in high school, and you were the band director at my school, my senior year.
Yes.
And I remember going off to college and coming back. You were always very kind to me, and even allowed me to sit in, which was huge at that time. For aspiring musician and really trying to get your stuff together. But I remember then years later, after all of that, I played in your band. As a keyboard player, and then to get back to the recommendation, you actually ultimately recommended me to be in Wayman Tisdale's band. What I hadn't said is that you work with the great bass player as well as NBA star Wayman Tisdale for 17 years, 10 years as the music director. But I thought about, just wanted to talk a little bit about the music business side, the power of recommendation, and wanted to say publicly, that you even, helped me in that, because just the power of saying, hey, try this guy out. And then, through Wayman, I, ended up meeting a lot of other people, a lot of other artists that I worked with as well. So, do you have any thoughts about just how young people can, the way that they go about doing the work that they do and never forgetting it at any time, or just speak about how, the power of recommendation even in your life has, been a factor?
Great question and great thought, because the music business is one of nepotism. I know somebody there are musicians I've worked with that I've never met.
Yeah.
There are some musicians I'm going to play with in Philadelphia next week that I don't know any of them, but someone told me these are the guys you should work with.
Yeah.
And we have, and I did something like that just a couple of weeks ago in Alabama. I met them at Soundcheck,
Yeah.
but they were recommended to me, and there's weight to that.
Right.
And so Bernard Wright recommended me to Wayman.
Yeah.
He said Wayman needed a sax player. I was recommended by Bernard, and that started a 17-year relationship.
Yeah.
But I would also add to that, the reason you were recommended is because there were many things that you did very well. You were a professional musician. You handled yourself professionally. You were on time. You were prepared. And you had fantastic character. So if I were going to give some advice to young musicians, I'd say, okay, there's several things you want to do. You want to get your music, you want to get your craft together. Become as the best musician you can be.
Yeah.
But then all those other intangibles are critical.
Right.
Am I on time? When I come to a show, am I prepared? Or did I just look at the music on the way in? All those things are important. And then when I'm there, I'm the consummate professional. I do my job to the best of my ability. That will get you indoors.
Yeah.
And I think that the reason we've been recommended for things is the word gets out, positively and negatively.
Yeah.
If you don't do your job, don't use
Right.
so-and-so, because they won't come through for you. So that would be some advice I'd give, and I believe that's a big part of being recommended for things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is how you, when you're given your opportunity, what do you do with it?
Right. No, I think that's great. You bring up a good point. I think we've had discussions like this before, is that it's good for aspiring musicians to understand that you do want to spend a lot of time practicing and developing your craft, but the other things that you do away from the instrument really, really do impact, how much you will work or not work, and that it's just as important to have all those things together. So I think
Because I have memories of whenever I would call you for a gig, when I would get there, your car would be in the parking lot. See, that said a lot.
Yeah.
That told me that you put value on what I was doing.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
you didn't drag in 2 minutes before the gig, like, what's going on? So that goes a long way with band leaders. So
Yeah.
I'm telling you, those are big things.
Yeah. I think that's good. That's good. Well, I'd like to move on to talk about some of your projects. What I was thinking was that to have you just talk a little bit about your concept in picking the titles, or how you decide, like, when you're going to do an album, how you name the album. I guess sometimes the name of the album might be a particular song on the CD or not. Mm-hmm. But, I thought about Catalasso, because that had, a specific meaning, your move. But I just want you to kind of talk about, in general, and you can pick out any of your releases, but, your concept.
Well, different artists have different career paths. Some are pumping out records every year. That's nice.
Yeah.
But at the Braxton household, it's not like that. So when we do a CD, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So we draw upon all the resources to pull together what I tried to make the best, just like you, the best CD I can at that time.
Yeah.
Pulling together all the resources. And so a lot of thought goes into it, a lot of planning, a lot of preparation, because you want to make a statement. Because I don't get to make a statement every 6 months.
Yeah.
I have to make a statement, and then it may be a while before I get to make another one.
Yeah.
So with your move, we wanted to come out and really show some writing, the writing that I do. Wanted to get to play a lot of instruments. Wanted to have some friends on there, like Bernard, Kurt Whalen, Dean Brown played on there.
Yeah.
And just get started and get some excitement going. We felt like it was our move to get out and get involved. Catalasso was just a more artistic project. Just enjoyed putting that together. Got Kurt to write a song, and it was wonderful. Just putting all the pieces together. I like for people to put the CD on and go through a musical journey.
Yeah.
You know, they start from here to there, and hopefully they'll like the whole thing. And if they don't like something, there'll be something on there for everybody.
Yeah.
So I think when you do concepts like that, and I try for the CD to have some unity to it, even though there might be different aspects of me or different aspects of my writing, I like for it to have a theme woven throughout that the listener should come away with and go, okay, I see what he was talking about at that time.
Yeah.
And then the next one may be totally different. It can change.
Right. Okay. And remind me, I know I had forgotten. What does catalasso mean?
It's a Greek word for reconciliation.
Okay.
And we actually got from 2 Corinthians.
Yeah.
And so that was the theme, pulling people together.
Yeah.
Ultimately pulling God and people together.
Yeah.
So that's reconciliation.
Yeah. I love it. Well, let's just talk a little bit about, because as we played, I was thinking the one thing that I really like about your songs are the melody and the harmony structure that you don't always hear a lot of times. Some, not to say anything about, any other music or anybody else, but just I found that the thing that stuck out to me about jazz musicians, especially the early ones, is that they, really pinpointed like a sound and something unique that you could say, oh man, that's definitely Duke Ellington, or that's definitely Thelonious Monk, or that's definitely John Coltrane. But with you, I thought about one thing that sticks out to me is your harmony and your structure. Even in the song that we played, Distant Skies, there were little things like modulation. And for those of you that, if you don't, play music, but we change keys. So, we're in one kind of key, home, bass, and then it might just kind of step up into another key and then slide back, and that song actually we did really change keys at the end, but even in like the chorus, it kind of goes to it's in one key, then it kind of settles in another and kind of slides back. But do you have any thoughts on that? I said a lot.
No. From the beginning, I think it was my influences that I just wanted my music to be interesting and have a degree of unpredictability. But at the same time, be able to communicate something. Right. I think that if you get too esoteric or too way out there, then people they're sitting there not understanding you. So so it's a delicate balancing act. Right. I'd say in the pop world, my biggest example of it is Steely Dan. Mm-hmm. When the first songs, I know those chords, that's Steely Dan. Right. And it was very interesting, unpredictable, but yet very commercially successful. Yeah. So they were the model for me. And I said, okay, I don't hear music like everybody else. I like to write a little differently than other people. Okay. But I'd like for it to be something that's accessible to audiences. So, so as far as harmonies and different things, from the time I sat down at the piano and started, I was just drawn to certain colors and certain chords and moods. Yeah. And it just kind of stuck, and I've tried to develop that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that I love it. Well, with that, you may have kind of already touched on that, but I guess in general, as an artist, people hearing your music, what do you want them to come away with from the experience?
That's a good point. Well, I love the live audience. I love that. I want people to feel like I've come into your living room to do a show just for you. To me, it's an intimate experience that I want them to feel where I'm coming from. I'd love for them to come away with, that was different. You know, that didn't sound just like, because there's a lot of saxophonists out there. That was a little different, but yet I liked it, and I can understand it. Because I think the understanding of jazz is important, because unfortunately we don't teach children jazz early enough. So it seems like this big, a large kind of music that we can't understand well. I'm not explaining it well, but I think that if we, and that's why when I go out and do workshops with kids, I'll explain, hey, look, there's a form to this. We're not just up here playing. And I've always liked arrangements. I don't like to just get up there and jam. I like for you to do this, and we go here, we go there, we go. And Spyro Gyra and some of those earlier groups that influenced me made me that type of writer, I think. So I want people to be comfortable. I want them to enjoy it. But I also want them to come away with a musical impartation. It's like, I felt that. I got something from that.
Oh, that's
cool. If that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. That does definitely.
He's making me think here.
Well, I was going to say that the other thing is, I think, I always think about musicians. You only get to see them, artists, on stage a lot of time. Most people only, and then you get to take them home on the CDs, but you don't really get to see behind the scenes and all the other aspects of their life. But I was just going to bring up the point. I know you like sports, as I do too. So you have any thoughts on the NBA Finals?
I'll be there tonight watching, not at the game, but I'll be in front of my set unless my wife has something for me to do. Just kidding. Right.
That happens.
No, actually, I'm pulling for the Thunder, but I'm not against the Heat. I'm not a hater, as you say. But it's just something I like about them. But the Heat's tough. They're really tough. And I like sports, and I think it's a good getaway for us. The music world can be so intense. So just to get in front of the TV and hoop and holler. I remember when the Mavericks won it last year, I screamed at the TV set, and Julian walked around the corner of my son and went, "Is everything okay down there?" I said, "Yeah, we won." So I love it.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Well, I should say then, it also showed your well-roundedness, because you went to college on a track scholarship as well as music scholarship, and ran track as well as anybody that majors in music knows how much work is involved in it. And I think also running track and any kind of athletics on the college level is very demanding. So I think that was that's great that you were able to do both and very well.
And learned a lot of discipline from both. Track, there's a lot of discipline involved. There were some days where our workouts were just posted and the coach may not even be there. So it was on you.
Wow, to do it.
Kind of like practice.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a lot like music then. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, I can't thank you enough for being here, talking, playing. It's really great. And I think the last question I'd like to ask you is, the show is called The Way I Hear It. And for me, it's about speaking to the lives of people, and that when they hear the music, they get whatever they need to receive from the music, whether it's healing, whether it's comfort, whether it's joy. But I thought, do you have any thoughts on the way you hear it?
Well, music is such a beautiful thing, and it operates on so many levels, as you say. And so everyone processes differently. And I've seen that so many times. I've been to the side of the stage and heard an artist do something, and I'm just raptured by it. And then the person next to you is just going, "Wow, I just like it." They don't even know the nuts and bolts, the syntax and structure of music. They don't understand all that. All they know is, "I like it. It feels good." So I think that's a fantastic title, because the way you hear it is critical. I'm going to play it this way, but you're going to hear it the way it pertains to you, and I'm going to hear it even while I'm doing it in a different way, perhaps than you're hearing it. So I hope that the way you hear it is, I hope we can produce what we have in here, is what I try to do, so that the audience gets to hear what we hear. That's the goal.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for being here. I really, really appreciate it. We have a little bit of a live audience, so I feel like we should, Tom Braxton.
Thank you.
You're great. Well, I'm excited. You have your whole family here, so we're going to get your wife and children and get to talk to them some.
You will actually
They'll give us all the secrets behind the genius.
The better half. I'm going to get out of the way so you can upgrade and get them up here. So.
All right. We have Tom Braxton and his lovely wife, Sharon Braxton, here together on the show.
Upgrade.
Thank you so much for being here. It's really important to me. I think it's just great. I'm excited to be able to see, to me, like the life behind the artists and really kind of give people an insight on what goes on once you get off the stage and actually go home.
Oh, no.
So Sharon, I'll start off with this. We've been talking about your involvement with Tom and with his career. Can you kind of give us some insight on the kinds of things that you do to help him?
Maybe you should say what I don't do.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. It's in different stages. From the behind the scenes, I am an attorney, so I read the things that he doesn't want to read, like, here, please read this and tell me what it says.
Yeah.
So I help him with documents, contracts, bookings, then just the whole business. Is this a good time to do this? What's the budget on this?
Yeah.
Should we do this now or wait? And just planning, because there's so much of music that's off the stage of planning.
Yeah.
You have to plan things out. Concerts, we've promoted some of our own events, so I've helped him with that. And because of my journalistic background, I've written his promo materials, because you do have to have a bio.
Yes.
You have to have materials on your website. Somebody has to write that, actually. So my sister does the site, but I help him in writing all his documents and the things that he needs to promote himself and market himself. Because of my music background, I did start playing piano when I was young, and then I started clarinet when I was 4th grade and played clarinet through college. So I do read music. And I had a radio show with the songwriter here, Mary Dawson, for about 5 years called I Write the Songs. So I learned a lot about melody, hook, a little bit about chords and good bridges. So when it's time for the studio, I actually sit with him and he will play songs, and he makes jokes that I don't know if these songs are good enough for you, but it's not true. But I listen. He has his own ideas, of course, but he uses me to bounce it off of, and then I do go in the studio. And I'm sure, like your wife, I know when that's his best and when that's not quite his best. So even in the studio, I'll kind of sit with the engineer and say, I think he needs to do it again, or I think there's another one in him. So I help in that sense. And then even when we do CDs, the project has to be managed. You have to figure out who's going to play what, and there has to be a cover and artwork. So I don't do it, but I have an eye to kind of help him see what he needs to look like. I like to buy his clothes, kind of stage it, figure all that out. So there's just so many. It's kind of like whatever he needs. If I have that capability, then I try to help, and if not, I try to find somebody who can.
After 22 years, you kind of know each other, and so there are times when I'll play a song for her, and she's so sweet. If she doesn't say anything, then I just know what that means.
I call that the layout.
That's like, well, is that it? Are you finished with it? Then you know, okay, go back to the drawing board. That's not, you just know. So she doesn't say it's bad. You just know, okay, that's not it. So.
Well, I was just thinking a lot of things, because all of the things that you mentioned, and I know that's not even everything, because really the bottom line is that whatever he needs, pretty much take care of that. And then that doesn't even get into, because your mother as well, you all have 2 sons, and so even all of that on top of,
It's a full-time. It's a full-time job, but it doesn't feel like a job because it's a calling. So but it's fun. I make the best of it. It's fun. It's fun. It's not fun when he's gone, but it's fun.
Well, that's great. That's great. I was just thinking, because it sounds like it's really amazing how God will put the right person in your life. Because I was thinking I was going to ask you about your legal background, your broadcast background, which you kind of already touched on that. But to have that, for any artist or musician, just magnificent to be able to have that kind of background.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. At the time when we married, and I really knew that this is a career for him and a full-fledged career, I even laughed too. I said, God, what are you doing? He said he needed a bio. Well, I'm a writer. I've been in plays, theater, I've done all that. Okay, I guess I can write it. He says he needs somebody to look at this document. I'm an attorney. I guess I can. So you're right. I do think he does that with a lot of musicians and their spouses. He gives you what you need in the marriage.
Right. That's wonderful. Well, that brings me to my next question. What advice could you give to young ladies who may be about to marry a musician?
Well, it sounds like I'm being funny. I'm not. I would definitely say pray. and not because it's a bad thing. First of all, I think you need to pray alone by yourself. You need to understand what the music is in his life. Is it a hobby? Is it just something he'll do a little bit here and there? Or is it his calling? It's why he was born. It's what God has put in him that you can't take that out of him. You can't talk that out of him because it's why he was created. So I think it helps before you marry to understand that first. So I would ask the Lord, I would pray and ask the Lord to show me the place that music is supposed to be in this man's life. And then pray with your fiance about it. Because if you understand that, then it's going to be like any other career. There are ups, there are downs, there's times you're frustrated, but you won't just quit because it's your calling. You'll ride it out. You'll pray, turn it over to the Lord just like you would do if you were a doctor or anything else. But it's because you know why we're doing this. So that's what I would say. And then I would say to her, she needs to be secure. She needs to be confident and secure in herself. Because no matter how you slice it, the arts is a very public career. And the person will be around the public. They will exchange with the public. And you can't feel so much like it's about me. Why is he not with me? You have to be confident in yourself, confident in your relationship, confident in the marriage. You two have to have some understandings between each other. And it works out. But I would say to the musician, include your spouse. Don't shut the spouse out. Don't treat it like you're there and I'm here, because to me it brings about potential problems. See if there's something she wants to do. Maybe she'll tell you what role she'd like to play in everything. But those are some of the things I would say.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. Great advice. It reminds me, this is what we've talked about. We've known each other for a long time, and you all were at, my wife and I's wedding. Tom, I could barely afford it, but he played at our wedding. But I remember even early days, like before you all had children, it meant a lot to me to see you right there. If nothing else, just present, And then I thought, well, I want, my wife to do the same thing, to be there. And then, of course, she, the same thing. But that meant a lot. Just a matter, you all, those early days when we were traveling, or if it was, a gig, sometimes they were, kind of long, you all right there with us.
But see, what's so interesting, and that's why I know that the Lord will marry it when the spouse is saying, this is what I'm called to do. I wanted to be there. He wasn't making me or kind of guilting me into coming. I couldn't imagine staying home and letting him go. Of course, when we have children, I have a joke. When Liam was in the baby carrier, I used to put him by my foot, sell CDs, my foot would rock him, I would prop a bottle with the burp cloth so he could eat, and I would sell and do this at the same time. And I've seen Hope do some of the same things. So, but it's because you want to. It's not because you're being made to by the musician. It's your desire. You want to help. You want to be there.
It's funny because you reminded me about, you were saying recording, and even before they were born, they were at the recording. We actually ran across a picture where our son, Hope is pregnant. She's singing, holding Christian, singing in the mic, and pregnant.
Whole family.
And I think about that now, and I gotta feel bad. It's like, man, you gotta do everything, man. You wanna let your wife sit down and do anything, but that's just part of it.
And it's funny because people act amazed, but to us it's not, because when I'm doing this and propping the bottle and saying that'll be $15, $5 back, and they're thinking it's amazing, but to us it's just part of the life we're living.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's just part of life.
Do you think that the baby there maybe gave them a sympathy vote to come buy a CD because they see you need the CD? Oh, they have a baby here. I'll buy 2.
Right. It's like, you got to take care of this family. You have to sell a lot of CDs tonight. Right. That's funny. Well, I thought lastly, what I would ask is also, since we talked a little bit beyond the music and, other interests or whatever, I'm really curious, what are your other interests and hobbies? What you like to do?
I love to dance.
Yeah.
I've danced since I was little, performing dancing. I don't get to perform as much anymore. Sometimes when he ministers at a church, I will do a worship praise number to him. But I love to dance.
Yeah.
I actually love old movies.
Okay.
I love Betty Davis and Joan Crawford and Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah.
So if you give me
Nice.
some cool pomegranate juice and an ottoman, I will kick back and watch an old movie in a minute.
Yeah.
I like to go to the theater because I have a lot of acting in my background. I did quite a bit of acting in college.
Okay.
So I love to go to plays, West Side Story, musicals,
Yeah.
theater, the symphony.
Yeah.
And then I just like hanging out with hubby and kids. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm real happy doing that, playing board games or
Yeah.
just watching a movie,
Yeah.
whatever.
I actually think she enjoys music more than I do.
I actually do. We have a
She
joke.
puts music on all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get away from it.
I go to sleep light. He doesn't like it, so I have to wear headphones.
Okay.
earphones.
I can't sleep with music on. I lay awake and just analyze and look in the sun's coming up.
Yes.
It's hard for me unless I'm really tired. So
Right.
she puts her phones on and she goes to sleep.
Yeah, well, I can sympathize. We have the same thing in our house. I think it's just that, because I can't sleep to music either. I wake up and feel like I've worked all night. Or two, it's like I feel like I've practiced all night and didn't sleep or whatever. It's
Well,
like
you can't listen to Rachmaninoff.
Now, my
I
children
can't
will not
because it's the
sleep
same thing. It's like
without
my
it.
brain kind of feels like it's supposed to. What chord was there? What? Oh, that
Yeah.
was modulation. Or that
Yeah.
kept. It's like I can't.
Now, they will not sleep without it.
Yeah,
Really?
they're like,
It's got to be
Yeah.
on, and
Yeah.
it's kind of cranked in there.
Okay,
It's
okay.
usually pretty loud. It's coming out of the room.
Yeah.
And they're just out.
Well, I think it is very relaxing. So but I just I can't.
and
I'm
I
like you,
understand
Tom.
it. I understand, so that's
Yeah.
why I put the headphones on.
Yeah, well, that's cool. That's cool. Well, thank you all so much. I think this has been great. It's a wonderful example to really show, I think, about young musicians, but any musician or artist, things to aspire to, how to be able to come together, work together, and really, including your children who we'll have on as well, and we'll have my kids on as well and let them talk a little bit. But thank you all so much for what you do, what you stand for, and really the music and the life that you live really bless a lot of people.
Well, thank you, and we're inspired by you and your family as well.
Well, thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christian Jones, and we're here with Ian and Julian Braxton, and this is my brother Ollie. So, Ian, have you ever played on stage with your dad?
Yes, I have. Once we played at the Cactus Theater in Lubbock, Texas, and he actually played at my school, West Middle School in Louisville.
Cool. Have you, Julian?
Yes, I also played with him at the Cactus Theater, and I played with him at Wiley College, which is my grandfather's college, and we all played together.
Very cool.
What instruments do you
I first played the piano and then later turned to the saxophone after that.
I started playing the piano when I was 5, and recently, since last year, I've started to play the saxophone as well.
What sports do you do?
I played a little soccer a few years back, and then I turned to track. And I've been running track for 6 years now, and it's been great, and it's a great experience.
I also played soccer when I was younger, and then I ran track for a few years, and then while I was running track, I also decided to turn to baseball, and so far I've been playing that as a sport, and I really enjoy it, and it's great.
Tell us about the spelling bee you both were in.
Well, this was our first year doing it, since Quest has never done a spelling bee before, and so They gave us a lot of words to study, so sometimes it was hard to look over all the words and memorize how to spell them, but we somehow got through it. And first we had for the whole school, the 2 kids from each class, English class, came up and would do our own spelling. And the 2 people that won would go to nationals, which would be against other schools. So in the end, it actually turned out that Julian won the spelling bee, and I got second. I was right behind him.
I just wanted to say that a bit of a correction, because actually it was not the national spelling bee. We didn't go that far. It was just the district spelling bee. Well, first was our school-wide spelling bee, and I got first, and Ian got second, and then we advanced to the district spelling bee, and we had to study 153 pages of words, and I won that one, and Ian placed at about 5th.
How many races have you run?
I've run a lot of races, but I usually run both relays, the 4x1 and the 4x4, the 100, the 200, and I used to run the 400 a little bit as well.
Well, when I used to run track, I ran the 100, the 200, sometimes the 4x1 and the 4x4.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
arlingtonjones.com.